Everything hurt. That was the first thing Ji-hoon noticed. Pain everywhere, like his entire body had been broken into pieces and put back together wrong. The second thing he noticed was the light. It was soft and blue, not like hospital lights he remembered. It did not hurt his eyes. He tried to open his mouth to speak, but his throat was dry. He managed a small sound, something between a groan and a cough. He is waking up. The voice was human. Female. Get Dr. Hyarin. Ji-hoon forced his eyes to focus. The ceiling above him was smooth and curved with soft lights embedded in it. Nothing like the military medical tents he was used to. Where was he? A face appeared above him. A human woman with kind eyes and dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. She wore clothes that looked like a medical uniform, but the style was different. Softer. Welcome back, Corporal, she said gently. Try not to move too much. Your body has been through a lot. Where? Ji-hoon's voice was rough and weak. Where am I? You are on a Valari sanctuary ship. You have been here for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. The words did not make sense at first. Ji-hoon tried to remember. There was the refugee camp. The attack. The little girl. Nari. The girl. He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his chest. The little girl, is she? The woman gently pressed his shoulder back down. She is fine. Thanks to you. Her name is Nari, yes? She has been here every day, waiting for you to wake up. Relief washed over Ji-hoon so strongly that he felt tears in his eyes. She was alive. He had not failed her. Another person entered the room. This one was also human. Another woman, but she looked more official. She had a doctor's bearing, confident and calm. Corporal Ji-hoon, she said. I am Dr. Hyarin. I have been overseeing your recovery. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a transport ship, Ji-hoon said. Dr. Hyarin smiled slightly. That is not far from the truth. You had multiple broken bones, severe internal bleeding, and extensive burns. Your spine was damaged. By human medical standards, you should not have survived. But I did. Yes. Because the Valari found you in time, and because they chose to save you. Ji-hoon looked at her, confused. Why would that be a choice? Dr. Hyarin pulled up a chair and sat down beside his bed. The Valari are pacifists. They do not get involved in conflicts. They have never used their advanced medical technology on soldiers before, but when their rescue teams found you still holding Nari, still protecting her even though you were nearly dead, something changed. She paused, choosing her words carefully. You became the first human to receive Valari biotechnology. They repaired your body using methods that humans do not fully understand. You are alive because they decided you were worth saving. Ji-hoon processed this slowly. His brain still felt foggy. What does that mean? The biotechnology? It means you are different now. Enhanced in some ways. Your bones are stronger than they were. Your healing will be faster, but it also means you cannot return to regular military service. Your body would not pass standard medical scans. The technology inside you would raise too many questions. Before Ji-hoon could respond, there was a small sound at the door. Dr. Hyarin smiled and stood up. I think someone wants to see you, she said. The door opened wider, and Nari stepped into the room. She looked so small standing there, her hands clasped in front of her. She wore simple clothes, clean and new. Her large eyes were fixed on Ji-hoon. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Nari took a tentative step forward, then another. She walked slowly to the side of his bed. You are awake, she said quietly. Yeah, Ji-hoon said. His voice was rough with emotion. I am awake. I waited. Every day I came here and waited, I heard. Thank you. Nari's eyes filled with tears. Her small face crumpled. I thought you were going to die. When they pulled you off me, there was so much blood. I thought, hey. Ji-hoon reached out slowly and Nari took his hand. Her hand was so small in his. I am okay. We are both okay. That was when Nari started crying. Not quiet tears, but big gasping sobs. Ji-hoon felt his own eyes burning. He tried to blink the tears away, but they came anyway. Through her tears, Nari looked up at him and said something in broken human standard. I am not crying, you are. Ji-hoon laughed despite the tears running down his face. It hurt to laugh, but he could not help it. Where did you learn that? From the other children? The human children in the camp. They said it when they were sad but did not want to admit it. Well, we are both crying, Ji-hoon said. And that is okay. Dr. Hyarin and the nurse had quietly left the room, giving them privacy. Nari climbed carefully onto the chair beside the bed, still holding Jihoon's hand. What happened after? Jihoon asked. After the explosion, the Valari rescue ships came. They were searching for survivors. They found us and brought us here. You were hurt very badly. They worked on you for many hours. What about my squad? My friends? Nari's face fell. They think you died. The humans reported you as killed in action. When the Valari tried to tell them you were alive, there was a lot of confusion. It took a long time to prove it was really you. Jihoon closed his eyes. Minyo must have thought he was dead. All of them must have thought so. He could imagine how hard that must have been. There is someone else here who wants to see you, Nari said. Another soldier. His name is Taemin. He was hurt too, but not as bad as you. Over the next hour, Jihoon met Taemin, a younger soldier who had been injured in a different battle. Taemin was already up and walking, his recovery nearly complete. He sat at the end of Jihoon's bed and told him stories about the Valari, about how gentle and kind they were. They do not understand violence, Taemin said. Not really. They left their violent past behind thousands of years ago, but they understand compassion. When they saw what you did for Nari, it meant something to them. I just did what anyone would do, Jihoon said. Taemin shook his head. No, most people would have run. Most people would have saved themselves. You are being talked about all over this ship. Some of the Valari want to honor you. Others are scared of what it means. Scared? Why? Because if they honor you for saving a life, it means they have to ask themselves why they do not do more. Why they stay neutral while others suffer. You have made them question everything they believe. Jihoon did not know what to say to that. He had not meant to cause problems. He had just wanted to save a little girl. As if reading his thoughts, Nari squeezed his hand. You did save me, she said. That is all that matters. But as Jihoon lay there watching the strange blue lights on the ceiling, he wondered if it really was that simple. The sky over Threshold 7 burned orange and red. Explosions shook the ground every few seconds. Jihoon ran through the smoke, his medical pack bouncing against his back. Around him, buildings that used to be homes were now piles of broken stone and twisted metal. He could hear screaming, so much screaming. The refugee camp was supposed to be safe. That was what they told the aliens who came here looking for shelter. That was what Jihoon believed when he signed up to protect them. But the raiders did not care about safety. They did not care about peace. They came with their ships and their weapons, and they took what they wanted. Jihoon pressed himself against a wall as energy bolts flew past his head. The air smelled like burning plastic and something worse. He tried not to think about it. His squad leader, Minho, was shouting orders somewhere to his left. The words were hard to hear over the noise. Fall back. Everyone fall back to the southern perimeter. But Jihoon could not fall back. Not yet, he heard something else. A small voice crying out from beneath the rubble of a collapsed building. It was high-pitched and afraid. A child. He changed direction and ran toward the sound. His boots crunched over broken glass. Fire burned in one of the nearby structures, sending black smoke into the air. The heat made his face feel tight. Hello? He called out. Can you hear me? The crying stopped for a moment. Then the small voice came again, weaker this time. Help, please help. Jihoon dropped to his knees beside a pile of concrete and metal beams. His hands worked quickly, pushing aside smaller pieces of debris. His fingers were bleeding, but he barely noticed. Through a gap in the rubble, he saw her. She was small, so small. Her skin was pale blue, almost like moonlight. Her eyes were too large for her face, dark and full of tears. She was Valari, one of the peaceful species that came to human colonies because their own worlds were no longer safe. Hey there, Jihoon said softly. He tried to smile even though his heart was pounding. My name is Jihoon. What is your name? Nari, the little girl whispered. Her voice shook. That is a pretty name. Nari, I am going to get you out of here. Okay, she nodded. Her small hand reached through the gap toward him. Jihoon looked at the rubble. A large beam was holding most of the weight. If he could shift it just a little, he might be able to pull her free. But the whole pile looked unstable. One wrong move and it could all come down on top of her. Behind him, the sounds of battle were getting closer. He heard Minho shouting his name. Jihoon, where are you? We need to move now. Jihoon glanced back. He could see his squad retreating toward the transport vehicles. They were leaving. They had to leave. If they stayed, they would all die. He looked back at Nari. Her eyes were fixed on him. She was not crying anymore, but she was shaking. "I am not going anywhere," he told her. He worked on the rubble for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. His muscles burned. Sweat ran down his face and into his eyes. Finally, the beam shifted. Not much, but enough. He reached in and grabbed Nari under her arms. "On 3, okay? 1, 2, 3, he pulled. Nari slipped free just as the rubble shifted again. Ji-hoon stumbled backward with the child in his arms. She wrapped her thin arms around his neck and buried her face in his shoulder. "You are safe now," he whispered. "I have got you." That was when he heard it. A high-pitched whine that made his stomach drop. He knew that sound. Incoming artillery. Ji-hoon looked around frantically. The transport vehicles were gone. His squad was gone. There was nowhere to run. The whine was getting louder. He did the only thing he could do. He turned his body, curling himself around Nari. He pressed her against his chest and bent over her, making himself into a shield. His back was to the sky. "Close your eyes," he told her. "Close your eyes and think about something good. Think about your favorite place." "I am scared," Nari said. "I know." "Me too. But it is going to be okay." He did not know if that was true. He hoped it was true. The whine became a scream. Ji-hoon closed his own eyes and held Nari tighter. The world exploded. Heat and force and sound all became one thing. Ji-hoon felt something massive hit his back. Pain shot through his body, white and burning. He heard metal tearing and stone shattering. The ground beneath him shook so hard he thought it might open up and swallow them both. But he did not let go of Nari. He felt something wet running down his back. Blood, probably his own. His ears were ringing. Everything hurt. His chest felt like someone had dropped a building on it. Maybe they had. He tried to move but could not. There was weight on top of him. Heavy weight. Debris from the explosion. Beneath him, Nari was still. He could feel her breathing. Small, quick breaths against his chest. She was alive. That was all that mattered. "Nari," he tried to say, but his voice would not work properly. It came out as barely a whisper. "You saved me," she said. Her voice was muffled against his uniform. "Why did you save me?" Ji-hoon wanted to answer. He wanted to tell her that it was his job, that protecting people was what he did. But those answers felt wrong. The truth was simpler and more complicated at the same time. "Because you matter," he whispered. "Because every life matters." His vision was getting dark around the edges. The pain was fading too, which he knew was probably not a good sign. He could hear voices in the distance. People shouting, running, but they sounded very far away. "Stay awake," Nari said. She sounded scared again. "Please stay awake." "Sorry," Ji-hoon mumbled. So tired, the darkness was getting bigger. It was like falling into deep water, cool and quiet. Part of him wanted to fight it. But he was so tired. His body felt heavy. Everything felt heavy. His last thought before the darkness took him was that he hoped someone would find Nari. He hoped she would be okay. He hoped she would have a chance to grow up and be happy and safe. Then there was nothing but silence and dark. 2 weeks passed on the sanctuary ship. Ji-hoon grew stronger each day. The Valari technology in his body worked in ways he did not understand. But he could feel the difference. Bones that should have taken months to heal were already solid. Muscles that should have been wasted from bed rest were responding to therapy faster than any human doctor expected. But the physical healing was easier than the rest of it. Nari came to visit him every day. Sometimes she just sat quietly in the chair beside his bed, reading or drawing. Other times she talked, telling him about her life before the attack. She had lived on a Valari colony world with her parents and her older brother. They had come to Threshold 7 hoping for a fresh start, a place where different species could live together in peace. She never talked about what happened to them. Ji-hoon did not ask. He knew from Dr. Heron that Nari was alone now. Her family had not survived the raid. One afternoon, Ji-hoon was sitting up in bed when an elderly Valari entered his room. She moved with a grace that made her seem to float rather than walk. Her skin was a deeper blue than Nari's, and her eyes held centuries of wisdom. "Corporal Ji-hoon," she said. Her voice was melodic like soft music. "I am Sunhee. I am one of the elders of this sanctuary." "You have a human name," Ji-hoon observed. Sunhee smiled. "I adopted it many years ago. After spending time among your people, I find it helps with communication." "May I sit?" "Of course." Sunhee settled into the chair gracefully. "I wanted to speak with you about what you did. About the choice you made to protect Nari." Jihoon shifted uncomfortably. I just did what felt right. That is what makes it remarkable. To your people, such sacrifice seems natural, but to us it is extraordinary. We Valari do not have the same concept. We value life, yes, but the idea of one individual giving their life for a stranger, it is foreign to us. Then how do you survive? How do you help each other? We help those within our communities, our family units. But we do not extend ourselves into danger for outsiders. It is not cruelty. It is simply not part of how we think. Soon he paused. Until now, your actions have started debates that have not happened in our society for generations. I did not mean to cause problems. You have not caused problems. You have caused questions. That is different. Better, perhaps. Sunny stood. I came to thank you, Corporal. Not just for saving Nari's life, but for reminding us that sometimes the most important act is the one that costs us the most. After she left, Jihoon sat thinking about her words. He did not feel like a hero. He felt like a soldier who had done his job. But maybe that was the point. Maybe being a hero was just doing the right thing when it needed to be done. The next day, Dr. Hiran cleared him to walk around the ship. Taemin offered to show him around, and Nari insisted on coming along. As they moved through the corridors, Jihoon saw how different this place was from any human vessel. Everything was curved and smooth, designed with aesthetics in mind as much as function. The Valari they passed nodded respectfully to him, and some even stopped to speak words of gratitude in halting human standard. You are famous here, Taemin said with a grin. The human who taught the Valari about sacrifice. I did not teach them anything. I just acted. Sometimes actions teach more than words. They ended up in a large observation room with transparent walls showing the stars beyond. Nari pressed her face against the glass, pointing out constellations she knew. Jihoon stood beside her, content to listen. That one is called the Weeping Mother in my language, Nari said, pointing to a cluster of stars. The story says she cried so hard when she lost her children that her tears became stars. That is a sad story, Jihoon said. Yes, but also beautiful. Her tears give light to others now. They stood in silence for a while watching the stars. Then Nari said quietly, I miss my family. Jihoon's heart clenched. I know, I am sorry. I dream about them sometimes. About the day before we came to the camp. We were all together and happy. My brother was teaching me a new song. Her voice cracked. Why did they have to die? Why did the bad people come? Jihoon knelt down beside her, ignoring the twinge in his back. I do not have a good answer for that. Bad things happen sometimes, even to good people. It is not fair. It is not right. But it is true. You could have died too, saving me. Was I worth it? The question hit Jihoon hard. He took both of Nari's hands in his. You are worth everything. Every life is. I would make the same choice again. Tears started running down Nari's face. She tried to wipe them away, but they kept coming. Jihoon felt his own eyes burning again. He pulled Nari into a hug and she buried her face in his shoulder, sobbing. I am not crying, she said through her tears, her voice muffled. You are. Jihoon laughed and cried at the same time. We are both crying, and that is okay. Taemin had quietly moved away to give them privacy. When Jihoon looked up, he saw other Valari in the observation room watching them. Their expressions were hard to read, but there was something in their eyes. Understanding, maybe, or recognition of a pain they had not experienced before. Later that evening, Jihoon was back in his room when Dr. Hiran came to check on him. She did her usual scans, then sat down with a serious expression. I got word from Human Command today, she said. They want you to return as soon as you are fit to travel. What for? They want to use your story. For recruitment. For morale. You are a hero, Jihoon. They want everyone to know it. Jihoon felt sick. I do not want that. I did not do it to be a hero, I know. But that does not matter to them. To them you are a symbol. Dr. Hiran paused. There is another option. The Valari have offered you a position here. Training joint response teams. Teaching humans and Valari to work together. It would not be combat. More like peacekeeping, protection. What about my military service? My squad? Your medical condition makes you unfit for regular service anyway. The biotechnology, remember? This would be an honorable discharge with a transfer to civilian advisory role. She smiled slightly. You would also be close to Nari. She has no family now. She needs someone. Jihoon thought about the little girl who waited for him every day, who held his hand and told him stories and cried on his shoulder. He thought about the Valari who were questioning their entire way of life because of what he did. "I need time to think," he said. "Of course. But Jihoon, whatever you decide, know that you have already changed things here, for the better." That night, Jihoon could not sleep. He kept thinking about choices and consequences, about what it meant to save one life and how that could ripple outward in ways he never expected. He thought about Minho and his squad, about the life he had known as a soldier, but he also thought about Nari's smile when she saw him awake, about Sunhee's words, about the possibility of building something new, something better. Maybe being a hero was not about grand gestures. Maybe it was about the small choices, the daily decisions to do what was right even when it was hard. Maybe it was about showing up for the people who needed you, one day at a time. Minho arrived on the sanctuary ship 3 days later. Jihoon was in the medical garden when he heard the familiar voice calling his name. He turned to see his former squad leader jogging toward him, face tight with emotion. Before Jihoon could say anything, Minho grabbed him in a fierce hug. "You idiot," Minho said, his voice rough. "You absolute idiot. I thought you were dead." "Sorry," Jihoon said. "I did not mean to." 3 weeks. 3 weeks I thought I left you to die." Minho pulled back, his hand still on Jihoon's shoulders. "We searched as long as we could. But the orders came to pull out and I could not find you. I filed the death report myself. You did what you had to do. You saved the squad. And you saved a little girl." Minho's expression was complicated, proud and pained at the same time. "I read the reports. About what you did, about how they found you." They sat on a bench in the garden. Around them, strange plants grew in careful arrangements tended by Valari who moved like artists. Minho stared at them for a while before speaking again. "Command wants you back." "Did they tell you?" "Dr. Hiran mentioned it. They are calling you a hero. They want to parade you around, use your story to boost recruitment numbers. The general himself asked about you." Minho looked at Jihoon. "What are you going to do?" "I do not know yet. The Valari offered me something different, a chance to do something new." "With the girl?" "Nari?" Jihoon nodded. "She has no one else. And I think maybe I can do more good here than back in combat." Minho was quiet for a long moment. "You always were the best of us. The one who actually believed in protecting people, not just following orders." He smiled sadly. "I will miss you, brother, but I think you are making the right choice." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Sunhee and 2 other Valari elders. They moved with purpose, their expressions serious. "Corporal Jihoon, Lieutenant Minho," Sunhee greeted them. "Forgive the interruption, but there are developments you need to know about." They moved to a private meeting room. Inside, Dr. Hiran was waiting with Taemin and several Valari officials. A holographic display floated in the center of the table, showing star charts and data streams. "We have identified the raiders who attacked the refugee camp," one of the Valari officials said. His name was Daehyun, and he served as a liaison between human and Valari forces. They are part of a slaver network that targets Valari children specifically. Jihoon felt cold. "Why Valari children?" "Because we are rare and our people have valuable knowledge," Sunny explained. "These criminals believe they can ransom us back to our communities, or sell us to those who want access to Valari technology." "That is barbaric," Minho said. "Yes, but until now, we have dealt with it by retreating. By hiding, we do not fight back." Sunhee's expression was troubled, but new intelligence suggests they are planning another attack. On this sanctuary ship, the room fell silent. Jihoon looked at the star charts, his mind already working tactically. "When?" "Within the next week, possibly sooner. They know we have witnesses from the last raid. Children who could identify them. They want to eliminate that threat." "How many children are on this ship?" Jihoon asked. 47. "Including Nari." Jihoon stood up. "Then we evacuate them. Get them somewhere safe." "Where?" Daehyun asked. "Our other sanctuaries are equally vulnerable. Human military bases would take weeks to arrange. We do not have that time." "Then we defend this ship," Minho said. "How many human military personnel are on board?" "Just you 2, Lieutenant. And Taemin, who is not fully recovered. We have 3 human doctors and 2 engineers. That is all." "Against how many raiders?" "Intelligence suggests at least 20, possibly more. They have military-grade weapons and experience. The odds were terrible." Jihoon looked around the table and saw the same realization on everyone's face. They could not evacuate in time, and they did not have the forces to defend against a serious attack. "What about your technology?" Taman asked. "The Valari have advanced systems. Can you use them defensively?" Sunny shook her head. "Our technology was designed for healing and building, not fighting. We have shields, yes, but they will not hold long against sustained assault. We have no weapons, but you have us," Jihoon said. Everyone turned to look at him. "We are not going to let them take those children. We will find a way." Over the next 2 days they planned desperately. Minho coordinated with Human Command for reinforcements, but the nearest military ships were 4 days away. Too far. Dr. Hiran and the engineers worked on boosting the sanctuary ship's shields. Taman, despite his injuries, insisted on helping with defense preparations. Jihoon spent time with Nari, trying not to let her see his worry. She was smart, though, and she could tell something was wrong. "Are the bad people coming back?" she asked one evening. Jihoon had promised himself he would always be honest with her. "Maybe, but if they do, we are ready for them. I do not want you to get hurt again. I will be careful." "I promise." Nari hugged him tightly. "You are like family now. I do not want to lose you too." Her words stayed with Jihoon as he walked through the ship later that night. He passed by the children's quarters and saw them sleeping peacefully, unaware of the danger coming. 47 children, all depending on a handful of humans and pacifist aliens to keep them safe. He found Sunhee in the observation room, staring at the stars. "I have been thinking," she said without turning around, "about what you said before. About doing what feels right. Yes, my people have spent thousands of years avoiding conflict. We thought that made us civilized, advanced. But watching those children sleep, knowing they are in danger, I realize we have confused peace with cowardice." She turned to face him. "The council is divided. Some want to surrender if the raiders come to negotiate. They believe that is the wise path. But others, myself included, are tired of running. We want to stand." "Standing means fighting," Jihoon said gently. "Are you prepared for that?" "No, but we are prepared to try." Sunhee smiled. "You taught us that, Corporal. You taught us that sometimes the cost of safety is everything you have, and some things are worth that cost." The next day, more Valari came forward to help. They could not fight, but they could run systems, reinforce structures, and help coordinate. The sanctuary ship began to feel less like a hospital and more like a fortress. Minho pulled Jihoon aside as they were checking defensive positions. "You know this is crazy, right? We are setting up to fight a battle we cannot win." "I know. But we are doing it anyway." "Yes." Minho grinned. "Good. I would hate to be sensible now." That evening, Jihoon gathered all the human personnel and willing Valari together. They stood in a circle in the main corridor, an odd collection of soldiers, doctors, engineers, and civilians. "I know most of you are not fighters," Jihoon said. "I know this is not what you signed up for. But those children in there deserve a chance to grow up. They deserve to feel safe, and if we have to stand between them and the people who want to hurt them, then that is what we do." He looked around the circle. "We might not win. We might not survive. But we are going to try anyway. Because that is what it means to protect something that matters." Dr. Hiran stepped forward. "I became a doctor to save lives. If I have to risk mine to save theirs, then so be it." One by one, the others nodded or spoke their agreement. Even the Valari, who had never known violence, stood ready. As the group dispersed to their positions, Jihoon felt a small hand slip into his. Nari looked up at him with her large eyes. "I am not crying, you are," she said, even though neither of them was. Jihoon smiled. "You are right. We are not crying. We are ready." The alarm came in the early morning hours. Jihoon was already awake, had been for hours. He could not sleep knowing what was coming. When the sensor alert echoed through the sanctuary ship, he was ready. 3 vessels approaching. Daehyun's voice came over the communication system. Signatures matched known slaver ships. Estimated arrival in 15 minutes. Jihoon strapped on the light armor that Minho had brought with him. It felt strange after weeks in medical clothes. Beside him, Taman was doing the same, moving stiffly but determined. Minho checked his rifle one more time. "Remember," Minho said to the small group of humans and Valari gathered in the main corridor, "we hold the choke points. We make them come to us. We do not let them reach the children's quarters." Dr. Hiran and 2 other medical staff would stay with the children, locked in the reinforced medical bay. The rest, about 20 people total, would defend the ship. It was not enough, but it was what they had. Jihoon made his way to where Nari and the other children were being secured. The little girl ran to him when she saw him in armor. "You look like a real soldier," she said. "I am a real soldier. But more importantly, I am your friend, and I promise you we will keep you safe." "I know you will." She hugged him tightly. "Be careful, always." As Jihoon walked back to his position, Sun-hee intercepted him. The elder Valari looked nervous but determined. "I have gathered 12 of our people," she said. "We cannot fight, but we can help. We know this ship better than anyone. We can control doors, lights, life support. We can make it difficult for them." "That could work," Jihoon said. "Can you seal off sections? Trap them?" "Yes, and we can do something else." Sun-hee pulled up a holographic display. "Our technology may not be designed for weapons, but it can be adapted. Our medical scanners can be modified to emit disorienting frequencies. Our shield generators can create localized fields. It will not stop them, but it might slow them down. Do it. Anything that gives us an advantage." The 15 minutes felt like hours and seconds at the same time. Then the ship shuddered as the slaver vessels docked. Jihoon watched through security feeds as armed figures poured into the lower docking bay. 23 raiders, all armed with military-grade weapons. "Here they come," Minho said calmly. He was positioned at the main corridor junction with Taemin. "Remember steady shots. Make everyone count." The raiders moved through the ship with confidence. They expected little resistance from a sanctuary vessel. That confidence cost them when Sun-hee's team sealed the doors behind the first group, trapping 5 raiders in a cargo bay. The lights went out, replaced by disorienting strobing effects. The Valari medical scanners activated, emitting frequencies that made the raiders stumble and clutch their heads. "Section 1 trapped," Sun-hee reported, moving to Section 2. The remaining raiders split up, trying to find alternate routes. That was when Jihoon, Minho, and Taemin engaged them. The corridor junction became a killing zone. The humans used their superior knowledge of defensive positions, picking off raiders as they tried to advance. But the raiders were experienced too. They brought up heavier weapons, and the sanctuary ship's walls were not designed to withstand military-grade firepower. Energy bolts tore through elegant Valari construction, forcing the defenders to fall back. "We cannot hold this position," Taemin shouted over the sound of weapons fire. He was limping badly, his injuries from before flaring up. "Fall back to Corridor B," Minho ordered. "We will make another stand there." As they retreated, one of the Valari engineers working nearby to reinforce barriers took a hit. She went down hard. Jihoon did not hesitate. He ran back, grabbed her, and dragged her to safety even as energy bolts sizzled past his head. His enhanced body from the Valari technology made the difference, letting him move faster than he should have been able to. "Crazy human," the engineer gasped as Dr. Hyerin worked on her wound, but she was smiling. The battle raged for what felt like hours but was probably only 30 minutes. The raiders were getting closer to the children's quarters, despite everything the defenders did. Jihoon could see it in Minho's face. They were losing. That was when Sun-hee's voice came over the communications. "I have an idea. It is dangerous, but it might work. I can overload the shield generators in sections 3 and 4. It will create a massive energy pulse, not enough to kill, but enough to disable anyone in those sections for several minutes." "What is the risk?" Jihoon asked. "The sections might become uninhabitable for hours, and anyone inside, including our people, will be affected by the pulse." Jihoon looked at the security feeds. Most of the raiders were in sections 3 and 4, trying to breach the final barriers. If they could disable them all at once, he'd do it, he said. "Jihoon, there are 2 of our engineers in section 3, Minho protested. "I know, but if we do not stop these raiders now, everyone dies, including the children." Jihoon opened a channel to the engineers. "You need to get out of section 3 now. You have 60 seconds. He watched on the security feed as the 2 Valari tried to run. One made it out. The other was too far away, trapped behind advancing raiders. She looked directly at the security camera, and Jihoon saw her nod. She understood. She accepted it. 20 seconds. Sun-hee said, her voice shaking. The energy pulse was silent but devastating. On the security feeds, Jihoon watched as everyone in sections 3 and 4 collapsed instantly. Raiders and 1 brave Valari engineer who had sacrificed herself so the children could live. The remaining raiders, seeing their comrades fall, lost their nerve. Minho and Taemin pushed forward, and the slavers retreated to their ships. Within minutes they were gone, fleeing into space. The sanctuary ship was silent except for the sound of alarms and groaning metal. Jihoon ran to Section 3 as soon as it was safe. He found the Valari engineer unconscious but alive. Dr. Hiran said she would recover, though it would take time. They secured the unconscious raiders in the cargo bay. Human military ships would arrive in a few hours to take them into custody. The cost was clear when they counted it. 3 Valari injured, 1 critically. Taman had reopened his old wounds and would need weeks more recovery. Part of the sanctuary ship was damaged, requiring extensive repairs. But the children were safe. All 47 of them. Jihoon sat in the observation room as the sun rose on the nearest planet, painting space in shades of orange and gold. He was exhausted, every part of his body aching, but they had won. Nari found him there. She climbed into the chair beside him and leaned against his arm. "You are hurt," she said, looking at the burns on his hands. "Just a little. Nothing that will not heal. The other children want to thank you, and Lieutenant Minho and Taman and Dr. Hyerin and all the others. They want to have a ceremony. We just did what needed to be done. That is what heroes do," Nari said simply. A week later, the Valari Council held a formal gathering. Jihoon stood uncomfortably in clean clothes as Sunhee spoke about the battle. About the humans who had defended their children. About the Valari who had found courage they did not know they had. "We have spent thousands of years believing that peace meant avoiding conflict," Sunhee said. "But Corporal Jihoon and his friends have taught us something different. Peace is not the absence of struggle. Peace is the willingness to stand for what matters, even when it costs us everything." The Council voted unanimously to establish a formal alliance with humanity. Joint defense forces, shared technology, a new era of cooperation. But for Jihoon, the most important moment came after the ceremony. Sunhee approached him with Nari beside her. "I have decided to formally adopt Nari under Valari custom," Sunhee said. "She will be part of my family with all the rights and protections that provides. But Valari families can be flexible. If you are willing, I would like to name you as her guardian as well, a co-parent, in human terms." Jihoon looked at Nari. The little girl was smiling, hopeful and nervous. "I do not know anything about being a parent," he said. "None of us do, until we try," Sunhee said. "But I have watched you with her. You already love her as family. That is the most important part." Jihoon knelt down in front of Nari. "What do you think? Do you want me to be your family?" Nari threw her arms around his neck. "Yes, you are already my family. Now it will just be official." Later, after all the ceremonies and meetings, Jihoon found himself in the medical garden again. This time, Nari was with him, along with Sunhee. They were planting a memorial for those lost in the raids. Small trees, one for each person. As Nari patted dirt around a young sapling, Jihoon felt tears on his cheeks. Tears for those who were lost. Tears for those who were saved. Tears for the strange, beautiful family he had found in the most unexpected way. Nari looked up and saw him crying. She smiled gently. "I am not crying, you are," she said. Jihoon laughed through his tears. "Yeah, I am. And that is okay." He had come to this sanctuary ship broken and near death. He had woken to find himself changed, his body enhanced with alien technology, his future uncertain. But he had also found something he had not expected. Purpose, family, home. Minho had returned to his squad, but he promised to visit. Taman decided to stay on the sanctuary ship, helping to train the new joint defense forces. Dr. Hiran continued her work, now with access to both human and Valari medical knowledge, and Jihoon became something he never imagined. Not a soldier, not a hero,